Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome. I ask you to please rise for Ariel Seidman, the recently appointed Deputy Chief of Mission for the Israel Embassy here in South Africa.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ariel Seidman, and as mentioned, I've been appointed a few weeks ago as Deputy Ambassador, acting ambassador on and off. I replaced Adi, who I'm sure many of you knew, if not everybody, so I have big shoes to fill. When I was preparing for this post, I met many colleagues in the foreign ministry and others who know South Africa well. And one thing repeated, and I heard over and over, and everyone told me, the Jewish community in South Africa is one of the nicest, most Zionist communities you will ever meet. So I cannot yet confirm the nicest part, but I'm convinced that about the Zionist part. As you all know, Jewish communities have been supporting Israel, even before 1948, before the State of Israel. And this support has always been invaluable for the state, but even more so in times of crisis. And sadly, these past 2 years have been some of the hardest times in Jewish history. Israel is facing extreme challenges from in and from out, and these are challenges that can only be overcome if we stay united. We need to be united as a country, as a nation, as one people. In such times, it's this support from the Jewish community around the world that becomes even more invaluable than ever. And the community here in South Africa really stands out. The support you give Israel is way beyond its monetary value. What you give us and what we really need is the unity. But I want to add, from the short time I've been here for 1 month, and I was here a couple months ago for a week, so in total 5 weeks. But in these 5 weeks, I want to add one more word to nice and Zionist, and that is warmth. Everyone I've met here in the community, and I've met a few people so far, everybody has shown me this warm Jewish heart, full of hospitality, compassion, love. And nothing explains this warmth more than this project of bringing the hostages here, surrounding them with comfort and care. And I see Or nodding, so. I'll just end by saying something personal. You all know that this is not an easy post for an Israeli diplomat. It is probably one of the hardest postings, if not the hardest post. But precisely for that reason, it is also very, very important. And the Jewish community here in South Africa is a most valuable partner for the embassy, for our success. And on a personal note, I also want to say that being part of this family for this next few years, or being part of this community, is a huge honor, and I hope to meet many of you and make many personal friends, both me, my wife Flynn, who's here. So we'll be here for the next few years. So thank you, good evening.
It is a great honor to call up Liran Esnes to light a candle in memory of all those that have fallen. I'd like to call up Michael Kransdorf, the chairman of the Jewish National Fund, South Africa, to address us.
Good evening, diplomats, Rabbonim, communal leaders, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Kransdorf, and I'm the chairman of the Jewish National Fund of South Africa. We gather tonight in solidarity with the 48 hostages still held in Gaza, 695 days since October 7th, 2023. We now find ourselves in the month of Elul, the month of reflection, teshuvah, and renewal. Elul calls us to look inward, but also outward, to ask not only who we are, but what responsibility we bear for one another. And yet 695 days later, we remain trapped in October 7th. The calendar has turned, the seasons have changed, but the hostages, their families, and the people of Israel, time has stood still. Elul demands that we respond, not with despair, but with action. We have prayed, we have protested, and we've chosen to channel our anguish into purpose to bring respite and healing to those most deeply affected by October 7th. Tonight's event is part of that response, part of a broader initiative between the Jewish National Fund of South Africa and the Base community. Together, we have created a space of healing, advocacy, and solidarity for those scarred by that terrible day. Tonight, we are honored to welcome Levy. Was kidnapped from the infamous death shelter at the Nova Music Festival and endured 491 days in captivity. He was shackled, starved, and tortured. While he was in Gaza, his world outside was torn apart. His wife was murdered on October 7th, leaving their young son Almog an orphan. When was finally released, he returned not to the life he had known, but to heartbreak, loss, and the immense responsibility of raising a child alone. And yet, even in grief, he's chosen courage. He travels the world to bear witness, to remind us of those still in captivity, and to urge us not to move on while they remain behind. Is not a politician. He's not a professional speaker. First and foremost, he's a father, a widower, a survivor. His presence here tonight is an act of strength and resilience, calling us to remember what too many would prefer to forget. As we stand in Elul on the threshold of a new year, we pray not only for personal renewal, but for a national and collective renewal. We pray for the safe return of every hostage, for the end of this war that has been forced upon us by Hamas, and for the rebuilding of lives, of families, and communities. May this year bring freedom where there is captivity, peace where there is conflict, and renewal where there has been unbearable loss. Thank you.
In the wake of the unimaginable horrors of October 7th, a remarkable response emerged from the heart of the South African Jewish community. At this darkest hour in Israel's modern history, the Jewish National Fund of South Africa and the Base community came together with a singular purpose: to provide a haven of healing, a moment of peace, and a space for recovery for former hostages and families of those taken by Hamas. Driven by the understanding that those who endured captivity and terror needed more than just freedom, they needed care, the South African Jewish community opened its arms. We offered not just shelter, but a warm embrace. Thanks to this joint initiative, survivors like Sapir Cohen and her brother Aviv, Noah Argamani, Moran Stella Yanai, Amos Horn and his family, Nissim Ricarda and Adi Luke, Rami Davidian, Ziva Bud and Elia Cohen, Almog Meirjan, and Amit Susana, each of whom endured the trauma of October 7th, were able to experience a brief but deeply meaningful respite in South Africa. This project is not a speaking tour. It is not a performance. It is rescue. It is recovery. It is resistance against forgetting. Because silence helps the captors, and telling the story sets others free. Though their time here could never erase the scars of their captivity, it gave them space to breathe, to rest, to feel the sun on their skin without fear, to begin to reclaim their sense of self. In South Africa, they found not only comfort and care, but a deeply empathetic community standing beside them, listening and supporting them. And while their thoughts remain with those still held captive, and while the war in Israel rages on, here, for a short while, they were able to experience peace. This initiative is a testament to the unshakable belief that we are all bound to one another, that the pain of our brothers and sisters is also our own. These men and women are more than survivors. They are beacons of resilience. And through the support of the JNFSA, the Base, and the wider community, their journey toward healing has found a compassionate beginning. Together, we continue to believe in the light that follows even the darkest night. Now, South Africa welcomes Levy, a true hero who was held hostage in Gaza for 491 days, here to share his story with our community and enlighten us on his journey. We welcome you and are so honored to have you here with us.
Please rise for Levy.
Thank you all. So first of all, let me just say one thing. I've been here for a week now, and I want to thank every one of you. I want to thank JNF, I want to thank the Federation, I want to thank the Base. I want to thank the Jewish community. Deputy Ambassador mentioned the warmth. I've only been here for a week, but I feel exactly what he says, and I want to say thank you for it. It helps me, and first and foremost, it helps the family, my family, the family of the hostages, because this way we know we won't be forgotten. The 48 hostages that are being held in Gaza won't be forgotten. So I just want to tell every one of you, thank you. So before I tell you what happened on October 7, I want to go back a bit, tell you who I was before. I was 33 back then, a software engineer in an Israeli-US startup company. I've met Einav when I was 19. We got together when I turned 25. We were best friends, best couple. 2018 we got married. 2021 Almog was born, our son. We were a normal, let's say, boring family, living the regular Israeli life, lived Central Israel, talking about the regular stuff, expanding our family, buying a house, dreams. We wanted one last music festival for the summer after years that we were away from the entire music festival scene. And we bought tickets to the Nova. We put Almog, our son, to sleep at my wife's parents' house. We got some sleep. We woke up 5 a.m. I know it must be crazy to wake up this time, but this is the way it works. We drove the car and we arrived to the Nova parking lot approximately 6:28 a.m. And I don't know how many of you know it, but everything started just a minute after. We got outside of the car, walked a few steps, and then what we saw, what at first we thought fireworks. Soon we discovered it's not the case. We hid in the parking lot until we understood this is a real deal. So we fled to the car. We found the nearest shelter and we hid there. At first, it was joking. People were handing candies, joking. Keep in mind, all of us were just in a party, just moments before. Then we started hearing bombs. Bit by bit, the shelter became more and more cramped. I don't know how many of you have seen how it looks. It's smaller than this stage, let's say. Can fit maybe 4 or 5 people. We were 27. Soon after, we started hearing shooting. And, you know, this shelter might protect from bombs, from rockets. But from terrorists, it's the opposite around. One guy that was inside the shelter, Aner Shapira, a real hero, told us he's a soldier on leave. His friends are fighting the terrorists. They killed a few. We thought that's it. A few moments after, we started hearing shooting again. And before we knew it, the grenade started to throw into the shelter. The first shocked us all, and then Aner started to fight those terrorists. He threw away around 7 grenades out before he was shot and killed. Afterwards, I had to throw one myself. Keep in mind, it's the first time in my life I ever held a grenade. The feeling there was, I don't know how to describe it other than smell of death. People were crying, calling the police, praying. I myself, I'm not a religious, but I said Shema Yisrael at that time. They even shot an RPG inside this shelter, and soon after they entered the shelter. They started grabbing people out. They grabbed Elia Cohen, Alon Noel, Hersh Goldberg-Paulin. Then I begged for my life. I told them I have a baby. They lowered a gun and they dragged me from the shelter. The last picture I've seen was this terrorist shooting inside the shelter while my wife is still there. I didn't know what happened to her, but I decided I don't want to know. I decided that I'll wait until I come back. And when I come back, I discover, because I knew I have to be strong. And I knew that if I know that the love of my life is dead, I might break. At first, I thought I'm about to be lynched. Then I saw on the pickup truck that the terrorist that is putting a tourniquet on Hersh's hand. He had a severe injury in his hand, And I understood at that point we are about to get kidnapped. We already got, but moments after we were in Gaza, and I'm talking about 8 a.m. I was already in Gaza. They moved us between 2 hospitals and 2 apartments. The entire time, the mob outside is trying to lynch us. And I remember this flip-flop being thrown to my face, and I lifted up. It was maybe this size. It's weird to say that, but I felt more safe in the hand of Hamas, because for them I was something. The mob just wants blood. I saw hatred I wouldn't forget. We were in an ambulance and people tried to grab me. I was severely injured. I couldn't lift my arms and legs. And I remember crawling like a snake in to the ambulance, and people tried to grab me. We were then taken to an apartment where I was finally handed some kind of medical treatment. I was suited in 7 different places in my body. Of course, no anesthesia. I remember being so afraid of the mob outside, so I grabbed a t-shirt and put it on my mouth so I won't shout. And I remember when he ended, I collapsed, and I only wake up a day after. October 7 ended for me roughly at noon, where for many it only had begun. In the apartment we were 3, me, Elia Cohen, and Alon Noel. From that point we spent 52 days in an apartment without the ability to speak, and when they allowed us to speak, it was whispering. I remember not knowing Elia and Alon's voice, we just met in Gaza. I remember not remembering my own voice. So one day I even grabbed a blanket and put it on top of me and tried to whisper, to speak. So maybe I'll remember how my voice sounds like. Food was bad. Water was rationed to maybe a half a bottle a day. And what was the most scary part was that every minute the apartment shook from either bombings or launches of rockets to Israel. I remember that after a week we could understand what is a drone, what is a rocket that's being launched to Israel, what are the biggest rockets that are being launched to central Israel, and what are the small ones. We lived together with our captives, and they treated us like, to be honest, like dogs. We took only 1 shower this entire 52 days. And to be honest, it felt like forever. But, we spent 491 days there. After 52 days, they handed us oranges, told us they have good news for us. Right away, I understood that it can't be any good. So they moved us to a tunnel where I spent the next 440 days. I can tell you that in 2024, I've only seen the sunlight once, and it was on January 4th, where our tunnel was bombed and we had to flee from it. I was outside for 30 minutes. It felt forever, and I remember the smell of apocalypse, the show of death, only shooting, bombs, combat zone. I remember when we got to the next tunnel, almost felt relaxed because we survived. We survived another day. When we got to the first tunnel, we've met 4 hostages, Eli Sharabi, Ori Danino, Almog Sarusi, and Hirsch Goldberg-Poli, whom we got kidnapped together, and up until that moment, I was certain that he's dead, because I saw people covering him with a blanket. We all hugged and spent 3 unforgettable days together. I used to say amazing, but people, for me it was amazing, but I understand why it might sound strange to you. We shared stories, we cried, we laughed, and we kept ourselves sane. Hirsch, keep in mind he was just 22. He kept repeating a sentence. He who has a why can bear any how. If you find your why in life, you can survive anything. And it became my mantra, our own mantra. I remember after maybe a day, I knew I wanted to tattoo this on my arm. And when I was away, when I was there, whenever it felt like enough, and believe me, it happened quite a lot, I used to tap my arm like this and feel stronger. My why, of course, was my son, Almog. At first, I cried every day, and then I understood something. My family, my son, my friends would be my strength, not my weakness. We spent 3 days with those amazing guys until one day, 5 a.m., they woke Ori, Almog, and Hirsch, told them, "You're going home." I remember looking at them for the last time. We almost felt jealous. I remember Ori looking at us, smiling, winking, telling us, "See you soon." Only when I came home and I asked my mom, "What about them?" She told me the truth. They were murdered. They were murdered yesterday, last year. Immediately I told her I want to meet all those heroes' families to share with them what I've experienced, to tell them. I've met Rachel and John, Hirsch's amazing parents. I told them the entire thing. I told them about the quote. And John stopped me right away and told me, Hirsch was quoting Viktor Frankl. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He described how people survived the Holocaust. And it blew me away how this one sentence can sum up how those heroes survived those terrible times, and how I survived the terror. A week after I've made this tattoo, and Almog asked me, what does it say? I just smile and tell him, your name. When you're there, in the tunnels, without the ability to see the sunlight, to breathe a breathable air. We drank salty water. We were shackled for the entire time, only for short breaks to make a shower. And even this happened every, let's say, 2 months. And even that happened with a bottle of water, with no towel, and most of the time we had to switch to the same clothes again. So I can tell you that I didn't really take a shower for the whole 491 days. But the worst part was the food. Most of the time we lived on 1 meal a day, 1 pita a day, and 2 cans, divided by 4 people. I can maybe describe to you how the starvation feels like, and you maybe think you understand, but honestly you won't, and you shouldn't. No one should experience this kind of starvation. When I was away, I rarely dreamt, but one dream that kept repeating was a simple dream. It was me opening a refrigerator and taking a Reese's bar. Even in the dream, it felt so weird. Why can't I open a refrigerator? Then I woke up and I drank salty water so I won't feel hungry. People ask me, what do you do for 491 days? What do you do on all these days when every second you feel like you might get killed? You might get killed for either bombings or one of our captives decides he wants to kill us, or they will get orders to kill us, like some happened. Or the worst part, he would starve to death. I can really tell you that I felt it close. The last one, of course. So first of all, you don't think about it, because if you do, you'll get crazy. You play trivia. They gave us cards, so we played as long as the low LED light that we had allowed it. As long as the cards weren't so worn out. So we couldn't really understand what card is it. I love sports, so for me, I used to do trivia of every NBA player I knew. But you know what I did the most? What we all did the most? I know it sounds masochistic, but every conversation we made led finally to food, to what we will eat, what we will cook. And you know, for me, before October 7th, I didn't tell you that, I was a really picky eater. And then you get to Gaza and you have to eat everything. And maybe it's something good came out of it, because I've built lists in my mind of all the food I want to eat, all the things that I've said no to, all the things I want to eat, all the things I want to make. It haunted me every day when I was there. It haunted all of us. But this was everything that was in our mind. And it's better than thinking about whether you're going to die the next minute or not. Our captives tortured us physically, mentally, but we had each other. We were 4, and we kept each other sane. Whenever someone was down or you felt he's in danger, you would bring him up. It happened to all of us. Every day there is a suffer, and every day we would pray that maybe tomorrow we'll get out. This how 100 days, 200 days, 300 days. I remember October 7, 2024. This number sounded imaginary. Yet I'm standing here in front of you, seeing October 7 of 2025, right across the corner, while people are still there. I remember June 25th, my son's birthday. I sang to him when I was 50 meters underground, crying the whole day. Promised him I'll do anything in my power to survive and celebrate his next birthday, to not lose any more birthdays. It was, I think, the worst day there, when I understood. You know, I counted the day before, feeling optimistic I might come home. And when I understood it's not the case, it broke me. After 480 days, a Hamas senior officer came, removed our chains, brought us more food, even got us toothpaste. And you know, when you see the toothpaste for the first time, I can't really explain to you how you feel, but you start to cry. But you understand, you do anything you can to survive. Food changed, and I'm talking from 1 pita a day to maybe 12, 14 pitas a day. And you can't really say no. And you finish everything because you just had over a year of feeling hungry. Hungry won't cut it. Feeling starved. Looking at myself in a reflection, because of course we didn't have any mirror. Not really recognizing myself. I couldn't really stand when we walked with the chains. I used to feel dizzy the entire time. Feeling, maybe if I fell, they will give us more food. One day we even faked one of us falling. We cut him in his bra, and they gave us more food for 2 days. Felt like a little small victory. I wasn't a believer, to be honest, before. And then when I got there, you would think that I would lose belief completely, right? For me, I think the opposite around happened. I remember when we were in an apartment, there was a crack in the ceiling. I used to talk to the crack. We were not allowed to talk, so I used to look at the crack and pray for it. About all the things I want to achieve, I want to fix, all the people I want to meet. I would go one by one to all my relatives, all my friends, tell them what I want to say to them. I really prayed, and I called it the crack. And then we got into the tunnel, and I switched this crack with LED light that was in front of me. And then we moved to a different tunnel, and then there was just darkness. And for me, it was the first time that I said the word God. And it kept me going. It kept me going. And it's hard to explain it, but when you go that many near-death experience and you survive them, I wouldn't call it near-death experience. I've went through experiences that I was sure I'm going to die. Every time I said, Almog, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I won't be there. I said to my parents, I'm sorry I won't be there for you. And when I survived all these cases, I understood that I'm here for a reason. After 485 days, this Hamas senior officer came to us again. He pointed at me and Eli Sharabi. You and you are going home next Saturday, February 8th. Elia Cohen, you're on March 1st. Alon Noel, you're on the next list. We used to call, I don't know if you can call it a room, but we used to call the place that we stayed in the waiting room. The room that you wait for either die or you survive. Up until that moment, you don't really live, because this is not living. To sleep on the floor, chained, drink salty water, eat 1 meal a day, it's not really living. And of course, I'm not talking about the danger you feel every second. We used to call it a waiting room. And, the three of us got our sentence, but one of us didn't. So we couldn't really be happy. We couldn't really smile. Because we were together the entire time. Me and Alon, we were kidnapped together. We spent the entire our captivity together. I couldn't smile. Neither of us could. I remember the last time I've seen him. I've hugged him, told him what Ori told us. See you soon. Over 200 days have went since, and he's still there. You know, I'm wearing a pin. Alone, you're not alone. His parents made it. So he knows that his family, his friends are with him. But you know what the sad part? He's probably alone right now. And, you know, I'm telling you how I survived it. If I was alone, I don't know if I would, to be honest. And the fact that he might be alone right now haunts me in the day and in the night. You know, a few weeks ago, they released videos of Rome and Eviatar. And I've watched them. To be honest, I've watched them just before the first ever time that I've spoken in front of an audience. I almost didn't make it. But you know, at the end of the day, I understood. This is the reason why I need to talk. Because it's important that everyone would see this video. You know, I watched this video and I watched it on mute because the script that Hamas is telling them to say is nothing. I have filmed a video just like it. It doesn't really matter. What I wanted to see is two things. And I've seen it. And what I wanted to see is their bodies, and more importantly, their eyes. The eyes that shows despair, that show suffering beyond imagination. The look that I only knew when I looked at my own face in the reflection when I was there. And I understood at that point that it's important that I speak, that it's important that I will make everyone to watch it, to urge them to watch it. And now I urge you to watch it. You know, people talking about the starvation that happens in Gaza. But you know, in this video of Eviatar, you can see it clearly. You can see who's being starved. And you know what else you can see? You can see the arm of Eviatar's captive, handing him a can. And you can see it clearly. This is not a skinny hand. You know, when I was there, we could hear every time when humanitarian aid would come inside. And then an hour after, we would see hundreds of boxes of the humanitarian aid food. We would see the Turkish flag. We even saw Israeli food. Of course, we got none of it. We saw ourselves disappearing. I've lost 20 kilos. And I can tell you that I've lost more because 3 weeks before they started feeding us like crazy. we felt like we coming back to life. It's hard to explain to you, but I remember this one day, we were so hungry. They handed us 2 dates each. And I'm talking about the small ones. I don't really know how to explain to you what sugar rush we felt. It's like right away I stood up, feeling my brain working. It only lasted for an hour, but it felt amazing. After 491 days, they released us. They put us on stage. You know what they made me say? Thank you, Hamas, for keeping me alive, for saving me while the IDF wanted to kill me. And you know what's the sad part? I swear to God, they believe it. They believed that they saved us. They believed that they gave us food from their own. So I have to be thankful. They got us into the Red Cross car. And then I felt like finally I'm out of the hands of Hamas. What I didn't tell you is that how it felt in this morning. They woke us up around 4 a.m., 4:30, and I'm sure many of you asking, how do we keep track on the time? The funny thing is that they prayed 5 times a day, so we could track the day. They woke us up 4:30. They got us dressed. They got me dressed as a soldier, because for them I'm a soldier. I don't know why. Blindfolded us, and we waited at the entrance of the tunnel. You know, I was blindfolded, but all my senses worked. I could hear the birds sing in the morning. I could smell the air of February. I could even hear the drone of the IDF. It was like I'm back to reality. I saw nothing, but I also felt everything. When we got into the Red Cross car, one of us actually asked the lady, why is that the first time that we've seen you? Of course, she didn't know what to say, but we didn't really expect an answer. This was the first time ever that I've seen the Red Cross in this absurd ceremony that they made. Soon after, we went across the border. By the way, they made a wrong turn. Not the best place to get lost. We went across the border, and I saw the military for the first time. I saw this officer from the military, and I asked her, by the way, what about Einav? What about my wife? Immediately she told me she was brutally murdered on October 7th. She was shot. Probably the image I described to you. Every guard I put to myself for the entire 191 days came apart. The love of my life. You know, I had a slim hope. She's alive. But I guess I was wrong. I didn't have any time to mourn because the second after she asked me, do you want to see a video of Almog? Of course I said yes. And I saw this smiley, curly hair, 3.5-year-old. You know, I left him, it was little more than 2 years. And I don't know how many of you know this age, but every day is different. Think about 491 days. I forgot how his voice sounds like. I feel sorry to say that, but some days I even forgot how his face looked like. And then I saw this kid yelling, Abba O, Abba O. You know, it's crazy how this one day was simultaneously the best and the worst day of my life. I got an answer that my wife was murdered, but I've met my family, my son. All the dreams that I've dreamt for 491 days. You know, when I was there every day, I counted the day and calculated the percentage of his life that I have missed. I almost got to 50%. And every day I understood he might not remember me. And I promised to Einav, I promised to myself that I'll be strong, that I'll regain his trust, that I'll be his father again. And when I've seen him, I understood. He remembered me completely. He hugged me, and then he asked, why took you so long to come back? Of course, we all laughed. But then the hard question came. Where's Mom? And you know, I just discovered it maybe an hour before. So I started crying. I didn't know what to say. You know what he did? He just told me, Ima meta. Mom is dead. I know, it's the hardest sentence to hear from a child. So I cried even worse. Then he hugged me. You know, I felt immediately how strong he is. I'm telling you my story, but think about him. Think about the living hell that he's been through. We left him for 12 hours. Just 12 hours. And then Mom is dead. And Dad is lost. And no one can guarantee that I'll come back, because who knows? But he's strong. And often I think about myself, if I were to go through it, I wouldn't survive. Now think about 2-year-old. Think about, this is the time of the abandoned anxiety. And then he was abandoned. I told him I'm sorry, because maybe all of you can understand what I've been through. My family, my friends. But this one guy that can't give me a break is my son. And he shouldn't. So every day I tell him I'm sorry. I'm sorry it took me so long to come back. But at least I came back, and I was telling you about his third birthday. I didn't lose his fourth one. I think it was one of the best moments in my life. And I know it was bittersweet because I've seen him smile, and then I saw another smile in him. And I couldn't stop but to think, if she's looking at us from above, what would she say to Almog if she's pardoned me? Every day sense is like this, bittersweet. For me, I try to smile every day, even though it's hard. Because this is my victory, We used to say when we were there, we choose to live. And when I came back, of course I mourn, of course I talk about her, I talk about the time there, I cry, but I try to smile as much as I can, because for me this is my victory. People ask me, what am what do I want to say to all of you, other than tell you my story? And the thing is that I know bad things happen to me. I know, and I see the look on the faces of people that hear my story. It's still surreal for me how, a boring guy as myself has this crazy story. But I don't want to feel sorry at myself. I told this to my mom, and she wanted to kill me, but I told her, if I would cry every day, if I would be a shadow of myself, I wish I'd died at October 7th. Because my son doesn't deserve a parent which is not really a parent. My parents, which are 70, doesn't deserve to look after me. It should be the opposite around. And first and foremost, Hamas have killed my wife, have taken 491 days of my life. But now I'm free. And I want to cherish every moment of it. I want to smile as much as I can, even when it's hard. I want to feel free. If every day when I wake up, I say thanks for the little things. To sleep on a bed, to go to the toilet when I want, to shower, to hug my son, just to look at him sleep. I say thanks for everything, because now I don't take anything for granted. And another things that I try to do, the people that met me already saw it, I try not to think about the future. Because for 491 days, I thought about the future. I dreamt about what I will do, about what I will achieve. Now I want to live the present as much as I can. I did this one game with myself. I took one day and I thought, how much of it I invested in thinking about the future? And then I understood, when you do it, you don't really live the present. And I know it sounds like a mantra, but I swear to you, this is how I live every day. People ask me, I was a software engineer, do you plan to doing it again? I just tell them, I don't know. And to be honest, I don't know. My answer to all those questions is, I'm a father. And this is what's important for me. I want to live every day, to hug my son, to smile every day. And it's hard because, first of all, my scar hasn't healed yet, right? People are still there. Alon is still there. I remember he has a birthday on February. I remember his 23rd birthday. I remember before that we told him, no way you're going to stay here for your birthday. A week after I came back, he mentioned his 24th birthday. And I remember telling him, no way, this is the last birthday that you will be in captivity. And now I see February of 2026, his 25th birthday. He was just a 22-year-old kid when he got there. Dreamt about all the things that 22-year-old dream. He was about to get an apartment, to learn music. He is a pianist. He dreamt. And for him it was harder because all of us are older. We got ourselves together, we got our jobs, and he was in the dreaming phase. He's still in the dreaming phase without being able to accomplish any of it. And I don't know how many of you have seen how I came back. It's scary, believe me. And the sad part is, he was just like me. We were the same. And what's more scary is that over 6 months had passed since I came back. I've mentioned my 6 months anniversary home, August 8th. But for me it was, I had to think about another thing that happened that day. I got married that day. It was supposed to be my 7-year anniversary. And a week after was supposed to be Einav's birthday. And Einav always insisted he would split apart all the celebration. A week before was my birthday, by the way. So summers were generally one big party for us. Now I'm standing here in front of you, and I've stood in many places talking about what I've been through instead of celebrating. And People ask me, how many years you were married? And it's hard in your mind to stop counting, you know. I was counting 2018 until when? Because, you know, I might be a widow for 2 years, but for me it's a little more than 6 months. I remember Einav's birthday when I was away, praying to God. I wish you celebrate right now. But I guess I was naive. And she forever stay at 32. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy that I'm standing here in front of you mentioning her. She was really shy. I was as well. I was a software engineer. I'm good with computers, not with people. Yet I stand here in front of you, telling you my story. But I understand. I understand that this is partly my job now. Up until the moment that everyone gets home. Trust me, you won't see me when they get home. I just want to finish by saying one thing to all of you, and this is something I say everywhere I go. When I was away, I would know that the entire of Israel is behind me. Because I grew up in Israel. I know Israelis. I know that human life is the most important thing. I didn't know that about the entire Jewish community. And before I was here, I was in the States, been to many places, felt the unimaginable love. And it moves me. You know, yesterday I was in a bar mitzvah, and I saw all the parents looking at me, hugging me. But you know what moved me the most? To see the kids. To see 13-year-old kids looking at me, hugging me, like I'm a celebrity. And this amazed me because I don't know any of you. I didn't know any of those kids. Yet they know who I am. They prayed for me. They still pray for all the hostages. And I want to say thank you for it, because, you know, you might not know it, but it helps. It means the world to me. Most importantly, the hostages' families, because I was just talking about me, but think about the parents, the children, the wives. Think about the living hell that they're going through every day. Think about, you know, October 7, almost 2 years ago, their life stopped. And they can't really continue with their lives. Even the families of the dead hostages. You know, I've met many, and some understand that people told them, yeah, your son, your daughter, your dad is dead. But up until they see a body, they don't really believe that. And all the help that you're doing, and I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about everything. The prayers. I was just in Shabbat dinner, and I sat in the table, and every plate had a name of the hostage. I've met so many people that know who I am, know my family, help them in a living hell. And I want to tell you that you're helping because you're not forgetting them, because you're helping the families, because you're praying for them. So thank you for it, and please continue doing it. And I want to thank you for listening to me, and I want you maybe to go out from this with a bit of a smile, because this is the most important thing, and this is why they won't win. Because we will continue fighting, and we will continue win and smiling. Thank you.
Please be seated. Or many people have heard me say this, but they really, what can one say? What words are there? You know, when we started this project, we thought to ourselves, what can we do for Israel? What could we do for former hostages? And what we've come to learn, and especially on this trip, is as much as we may do for you, you do so much. You have done and you do so much for all of us. Ori is here together with his mother-in-law, Penina, his son, Almog, and it's a great, great privilege to have come to meet them in person and to host them here within the context of our community. So, Ori, thank you. It's appropriate as well. I acknowledged earlier Ariel Seidman, the Embassy of Israel, to acknowledge as well His Excellency Mr. Raul Santiago Aylan from the Embassy of Argentina, the Embassy of Germany, Ms. Natalia Sadowski, the Second Secretary, the High Commissioner Thomas Edwards from the Embassy of Jamaica, and as they say, all protocols observed, but in truth, on a personal note, speaking on behalf of our community, it means so much that each of you are here. It means more than we can actually say. When you were coming in this evening, I'm sure you saw, but on the tables there were cookies for sale. And these cookies and the recipe that made them were made having in mind Einav. This is her recipe. On many of the chairs there is a recipe. You can take one of these home with you. There is also an opportunity to contribute once again to this project, and all contributions go directly to this project and only this project. And on the way out, if you didn't grab some, you're able to do so. Just please make a contribution along the way. I want to take the opportunity to thank the JNF South Africa, in particular Michael Kransdorf, who really has gone above and beyond, not only in the context of this project, but I'll say this, in the context of the JNF, he really has gone above and beyond, and I'd like to commend him. I want to thank him. I want to thank not only him, but his entire team, to thank Bev Schneider, Kiki Shalpid, Jade Goldstein, Isla Feldman, Jules Erdang, and everyone else at the JNF. Take the opportunity to say a very big thank you to my wife Gila, a very big thank you to Sola and Batsheva Jasanovsky. Really, there are no words. A big thank you to Ronit Beleli, a big thank you to the Base community, and a big thank you to all the volunteers involved in this project, in particular the volunteers this evening and at every one of our events that are here from many hours before the event, during the event, after the event, setting up the event. Really, we appreciate each and every single one of you. My brother Moshe, who goes above and beyond, really does. The amount of work that goes into organizing the logistics of these events, it's really, really greatly appreciated. In the heart of our community, a radiant tapestry of chesed has been woven together with the resilient spirits of these former hostages. We've been able to offer them a sanctuary of healing and renewal. And over the past 2 years, this project really has blossomed into an unbelievable beacon of hope, where each act of kindness, it's like a brushstroke on a canvas, enduring. It's hard to actually put it into words, what has been created. You know what makes our South African Jewish community so unique? What makes this community so unique, and I'm including everyone who is present here and that has been involved in this project, is the vibrant variety of individuals. It's beyond remarkable. It's literally a mosaic of souls, for lack of a better term. Each person from every corner of our Jewish family, bringing their own light, their own contribution, their own personal mission into this experience. And all of us together, we unite together with unwavering love for the people of Israel, for Israel itself, and for Jews the world over. We've been able to create a haven here in South Africa, as ironic as that may sound, where people are able to rediscover joy. We together are not just a community. We are actually all living as a testament to the power of unity, healing, and hope. And especially during this time, with all that is going on, we need to reinforce these fundamentals again and again and again. The importance of unity, the importance of goodness, the importance of kindness, and the importance of growth, being better versions of ourselves each day. You know, some prayers are easier than others. It's keeping it simple, you know, when you pray, simply you just got to know what you're saying first and foremost. But sometimes there are prayers that we want to pray, but you can't find the words. And I've been feeling so much of late, especially with all that's going on in Israel, like how and what are we to pray for? Like, what are we actually meant to say to God in the context of what is going on? But I will say this, in a few moments we're going to sing 2 very powerful songs. And while we are singing these songs, we could look at them as songs. But I ask of you in these moments to look at them as the most powerful of prayers, especially during this month of Elul leading up to Rosh Hashanah. Even if there aren't any particular words that come to mind, if we can open our hearts and open our souls, open our minds to what these songs represent, I believe it will be so powerful. Let us have in mind Einav, Alava Shalom. May her memory be for a blessing, and may her soul rest in peace. Let us have in mind all those that have fallen. Their memory too should be for a blessing. Let us have in mind all of the hostages. They all need to come home. And I want to mention in particular, Or mentioned Alon, and he wears a pin. He mentioned that the pin means the world to his friends and to his family. But it means the world to us as well, Or. And I can tell you this, that all of Am Yisrael, not only in the land of Israel, but throughout the Jewish people, we stand together with Alon, we stand together with his family and friends, we stand together with you. And you know, it's become a little bit cliched on some level, and it's a lot. You know, these events, these talks, and this whole experience of the Jewish people, I'll just call it for what it is, it's become a lot. And on some level, you know, you say to yourself, you know, we've heard the story, we know what's going on, but Rabbi Isai, it's not over. It's not over, it's still happening. It's not over, and it's still happening. So we cannot get tired. And we cannot be fatigued. And whatever we can do, we need to do. And to the best of our ability, we need to do it and know this, that it does make a difference. I'd like to call up Adam Davis to lead us in song and in prayer. Please rise. Join me. Let us join each other in Acheinu and Atikva, which, as I mentioned, are so much more than songs. We are all part of one family. The song Acheinu represents this. Hatikva is so much more than an anthem, and I know that it sounds almost belittling to say such a thing, but it is an unbelievable symbol of Jewish resilience. Please God, Be'ezrat Hashem, the war in Gaza should end. All hostages should return. All those who need healing should have it. There should be peace in Israel. There should be peace throughout the world.
Acheinu kol Beit Yisrael, Acheinu kol Beit Yisrael, הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם, יוציאם מצרה לרווחה ומייפל לאורה, ומשיבוד לגאולה השתה בגלה, ובזמן קריב נאמר אמן. כל עוד בלבב פנימה, נפש יהודי הומיה, ולפת מזרח קדימה, עין לציון צופיה. עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, בארץ ציון ירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, בארץ ציון וירושלים.
Thank you all for joining us here this evening. If we can just wait one moment while Levy leaves the room. Thank you once again. Please drive safe.